If you'd told me 3 years ago I'd wind up in my boxers at 3 a.m., barefoot, staring down 6 armed deputies in my own front yard, well, I'd probably have laughed in your face. But there I was, blinking in the headlights, heart-pounding gravel biting my feet, while some guy with a badge barked, "Sheriff's Department, open up, you're under arrest." All I'd wanted was a little peace and quiet in the cabin I'd built myself. Instead, my so-called neighbor had just thrown me headfirst into the nastiest fight of my life. And buddy, I was about to give her one hell of a surprise. See, Constance Brightwater, yeah, she actually picked that name, ran our little HOA like it was her personal fiefdom. Picture someone who acts like a cross between a DMV supervisor and the prison warden from every movie you've ever seen. Pink bathrobe, clipboard, that look on her face like she just beat you at chess and wants everyone to know it. The whole circus kicked off because she called 911, claimed I was some dangerous vagrant menacing the neighborhood. I own my land. Had for 3 years, got the papers to prove it. But facts never stopped Constance, and that's when I realized she had no idea who she'd picked a fight with. Marine, 20 years. I know what to do with folks who abuse their little scraps of power. Now I should back up, right? Let you in on how I wound up in this mess. My Marine career ended the exact week my wife ran off with her yoga instructor, chasing spiritual energy and leaving me with a broken heart and an empty living room. If you're out there, Linda, good timing as always. Lucky for me, that was when Grandpa Joe passed and left me 5 acres up in North Carolina. He always said you build things for your hands, but you build places for your soul. The land was a patchwork of pines, a creek out back, just the kind of spot you go to heal. I built the cabin myself. Didn't want some cookie-cutter palace, just a sturdy place with cedar shavings on the floor, a composting toilet, well water you could drink straight from the tap. The HOA Pine Ridge Estates was supposed to be 47 houses and not much drama. Funny thing, people move out to the woods to escape HOAs, but then invent even worse ones by accident. The association started out to patch roads and settle squabbles over fences, but 3 terms of Constance, nobody ever runs against her, normal people don't want the headache. My grandfather's lot predates the whole thing by 15 years. Grandfathered rights, he always said with a wink. Still, I double-checked every rule, got every permit, did it by the book. Turns out none of that mattered to Constance. She found out about me on a Tuesday. I'm up to my elbows in kitchen cabinets and I hear this click, click, click like a woodpecker in stilettos. There she is, clipboard, phone camera, that smile that could wilt grass. No good morning. Just, that structure violates our community standards. I wipe my hands and tell her politely as I can that this cabin's legal, it's on family land, and I've got every document she wants. Doesn't matter. She's quoting HOA bylaws like she's Moses, and I'm about to get smitten. Thursday, I get a letter, official as can be. $500 a day in fines for illegal camping. Legal action in 10 days if I don't move. I'm reading this on my porch, coffee in hand, staring out at the pines. And it hits me she's doing this to everybody. She ran off the Hendersons over tomato plants. Mike down the way can't rent his place because she invents new hazards every month. You know the type. There's always someone who figures out how to twist the rules just enough to get what they want. I made a couple of calls to the courthouse. Turns out not only am I grandfathered, there's a legal clause in the original land agreement that gives me extra rights. But Constance hadn't bothered to check. She'd already filed her complaint, though. And it was personal now. The next week, code enforcement shows up a guy named Derek who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Anonymous tip, he says. Yeah, right. They check everything. Permits for the solar, well water-tested, toilet certified. I've got it all. But after a call with Constance, I hear her voice carrying across the yard. She's not subtle. Suddenly, Derek needs a full inspection in every scrap of paper I've got. Grandpa used to say, when the government comes knocking, you watch every move they make. Smart man. Turns out she'd been trespassing, sneaking onto my land, taking photos from inside my tree line, not the public road. I set up trail cameras, caught her red-handed. Measured every inch of my fence, tried every latch. I found out she'd pulled the same trick on 6 other property owners in 18 months. Anonymous complaint pile on the pressure wear folks down until they sell or give up. One night, my neighbor Sarah slips me a flash drive Ring camera footage of Constance prowling around my place at midnight, measuring fences with a flashlight. Sarah's sharp, a retired accountant who's got no patience for bullies. She's been asking questions about my grandfather. Sarah whispers, trying to find a gap in ownership so she could say my exemption was void. She's digging for any way to get me out. This wasn't just about rules anymore, it was about power. The next days, things escalated: more complaints, more inspections. Then came the health code stuff. I'm off-grid, everything certified and tested, but Constance convinced county folks I was contaminating the water supply. I had to get my old Marine buddy Steve on the phone, who's now in municipal planning. He nearly spit out his coffee laughing. What they were demanding flat out broke state law. North Carolina encourages off-grid living, especially with all my documentation. The real smoking gun, though: Mike records a phone call Constance offering to expedite his permit if he'd sign a petition against me. Straight up bribery on tape. She went around the whole neighborhood with that act, threatening, cajoling, promising favors. When that didn't work, she tried to frame me for stuff that could ruin a man's life: insurance fraud, drug manufacturing, even stashing suspicious packages in the woods. Imagine a middle-aged Marine building a meth lab out of nothing but a coffee maker and a box of nails. That's the level we're talking about. But she got sloppy. My trail cams caught her vandalizing my solar panels, thousands in damages, and she had the gall to file a police report saying I did it for the insurance. I handed over the footage to the sheriff. Her goose was cooked. And the whole time I'm digging into the HOA finances. I find out Constance had registered her own consulting company, been paying herself with association funds, draining the road repair account, all while planning to sell off the community forest for a quick buck. Turns out Grandpa left me a hidden trump card. A development agreement from '87 signed with the original builder, giving our family permanent advisory status and veto power on common land sales. And wouldn't you know, the forest they were going to log was right behind my cabin. The whole reason for her campaign against me wasn't some code violation. She needed me gone so she could cash in. Once I put the pieces together, I went on the offensive. Gathered evidence, got the neighbors on board, helped folks pull their own financial records. People started realizing their special fees were bogus, their permits delayed on purpose, their property values at risk. Even Derek, the code guy, came around, realized he'd been played, wanted to make it right. We brought in the state environmental folks, got the land protected. The logging plan got shut down cold. The best part: we got enough evidence, bribery, embezzlement, fraud, even federal environmental crimes, to take Constance down for good. The day it all went public, she tried to stage one last stunt, called in a false emergency to get me arrested during the HOA meeting. Instead, half the neighborhood showed up along with the local TV station. Her own words on camera gave the game away, admitting she'd been researching my rights, calling me a dangerous vagrant, all while I stood there with documents, audio, video, and a folder full of evidence. It didn't take long. The sheriff arrested her on the spot. Neighbors came forward: Mrs. Patterson, Mike, Sarah, all testifying to fake permits, bogus fees, outright discrimination. By the end of the meeting, we'd voted for conservation, kicked her out of every position, and started the real work of rebuilding. You know what's wild? 6 months later, Pine Ridge looks like a whole new place. The forest is safe, the roads are fixed, and our property values went up, not because we excluded anyone, but because we protected what made this place special in the first place. Kids play on trails instead of dodging survey tape. Mike's running the rec committee, Sarah's treasurer, keeping the books clean. We even set up a scholarship for local students paid for by ecotourism on the protected land. Sometimes I look out from my deck, see the sun setting over the woods, and I realize Grandpa was right. You build things because your hands need the work, sure, but sometimes your whole community needs it even more. Constance thought she could break us apart for a quick profit. Instead, she wound up doing the one thing she never wanted: bringing us all together. So let me ask you, what's the line between protecting your neighborhood and becoming its tyrant? When does following the rules turn into pure greed? Have you ever faced off with someone like Constance? Someone who'd burn it all down just to feel in charge? I'd love to hear your stories. After all, the only thing stronger than a bully is a community that finally decides enough is enough.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.